A man is under arrest and banned from Kroger after allegedly spanking a stranger's 2-year-old in the checkout line.
How a step back to paper election ballots may be a step forward in election security.
Stepping across the border of North Korea, I'm Cheryl Preheim in Pyeongchang. Come along as we take you inside one of the most guarded pieces of land in the world.
Live from Atlanta, 11 Alive at 6 starts now.
First, we continue to follow breaking news in southeast Atlanta. You are looking live at Sky Tracker. This is over an officer-involved shooting.
This is near South River Industrial and Forest Park Road. And within the last 15 minutes, we received an update from GBI and the spokesperson. She says this started when officers spotted a stolen car on Jonesboro Road. They tried to pull it over, but then that driver took off. The car ended up crashing near Forest Park Road and then ramming into a patrol cruiser. GBI says the suspect then took off again and rammed a second patrol car nearby. And that's when the Atlanta officers opened fire, hitting the suspect. At last check, the suspect was at ICU at Grady. No officers were injured. And as we get updates, we'll share them with you on TV and online at 11alive.com.
New at 6, a story that is generating a ton of outrage online tonight. A man facing charges after spanking a 2-year-old in a Noonan grocery store.
We should point out he was a total stranger to the family, and that's why a lot of people are infuriated. A lot of people have been sharing on our Facebook page, what would you do if this happened to you, if someone random hit your child? The comments are fiery.
11 Alive's Caitlin Ross talked to the child's father. Caitlin, how did he react to seeing somebody he didn't know, somebody at the grocery store, pull over and start whacking on his kid?
Yeah, Jeff, Melissa, he said he couldn't believe it when it first happened. He was too stunned to react. The dad was going through the checkout aisle with his 2-year-old when the man hauled off and smacked him.
I told him no. I was like, it's late.
After he said no, Logan Morris says his 2-year-old asked again. That's when the man behind him in the checkout line grabbed his son's hand, spun him around, and spanked him 3 times.
I didn't know what to think. You know, I was blown away by the situation.
It happened February 6th at the Kroger in Noonan. He says 62-year-old Juan Martinez told him that's how we deal with kids in Mexico.
And I told him that we're not in Mexico. That was really about the only conversation we had.
He quickly got his family out of the store and called police. That's when they had a second to think about what had just happened.
I was shocked. I was scared. Of course, I was angry and defensive. You know, that's my heart.
The 2-year-old's grandmother says she's proud of Logan for protecting his family.
Because it could have gotten really ugly really quickly.
She credits Logan's calm reaction with keeping the situation under control.
I didn't want to start something and it go out of hand and him get hurt in the process.
Logan says he doesn't spank his own kids and is certainly not okay with someone else doing it.
That's my son, and at the end of the day, I'll discipline him how I believe he needs to be disciplined.
Martinez was arrested at the grocery store and is now charged with child battery and obstruction. He's still in jail tonight and hasn't posted his $3,000 bail.
Wow, what a story that is. Caitlin, thank you. All new at 6, one of downtown Atlanta's landmarks could soon be in for a name change. We're talking about Phillips Arena tonight. Multiple sources, including our partners at the Atlanta Business Chronicle, are reporting that Phillips will not renew its naming rights deal for the venue. An unnamed source confirmed details of the possible change, but so far, no one from the Atlanta Hawks organization is talking about this publicly. The company signed a $185 million deal in 1999. It is up in June of next year. The Phillips naming deal remains among one of the largest across NBA venues.
Tonight, we are holding Georgia Tech and Atlanta police accountable after yet another student was robbed just hours after police announced stepped-up patrols. There have been at least 7 armed robberies this year alone, and the latest happened early this morning at 2:30. 11 Alive's Chris Hopper is live near the campus after speaking with Atlanta's police chief. Chris, what are we expecting? Any kind of change?
Yes, definitely some changes tonight, Melissa, and Chief Erica Shields is certainly taking the blame for all of this. She was very candid during a press conference today, and she's promising Georgia Tech students that she will be making arrests very soon. Now, today, after that latest armed robbery overnight, Chief Shields said the robberies are cyclical here at Georgia Tech. They happen every few years, and she says, frankly, APD failed to respond quickly and severely enough when the first couple happened. Now, Atlanta police is already teaming up with Georgia Tech Police and GSP. There are thousands of mobile cameras monitoring this Home Park neighborhood, and Georgia Power is taking a closer look at the lighting in this area. She says tonight Georgia Tech is on APD's radar, but she's also putting the onus on Fulton County courts, and she's not holding back.
The courts simply have to start accepting responsibility for this pattern of providing bond, adjudicating cases, and glossing over criminal histories with the speed that they do.
And Shields also says that she believes these crimes are gang-related, and she's expecting those arrests to happen soon. She's telling Georgia Tech students to go about their business, but be aware of their surroundings and don't be out very late at night as they continue to fight this crime spree here. We also just heard from Georgia Tech a little while ago. They had 2 robberies like this last year, 9 in 2016. Live at Home Park, Chris Hopper, 11Alive News.
I don't understand why people don't have the decency to check on another human being. My daughter could have been dead. She could have died.
And looking at this car, it is hard to believe the driver survived, but she did. And tonight she is in the hospital as DeKalb police continue to look for the other driver who struck her head on and then took off. 11Alive's Latasha Givens spoke to the victim's outraged family today. Latasha?
Well, Jeff, once the initial shock of the crash wore off and they knew their daughter was going to be okay, the family says they became angry that someone would leave another person trapped inside a vehicle, not knowing if they were dead or alive. Take a look at these pictures. They were taken after the accident. It happened around 4 a.m. Tuesday on Snapfinger Woods Road near Wesley Chapel. Chardonnay Sims was picking up a co-worker, then heading to work at Krispy Kreme not far away when she says a driver swerved into her lane, hitting her head on. The family says the driver sped away, leaving her with several lacerations and nerve damage that requires immediate surgery. Biblica and Jay Huff hope someone saw something that could help police.
It's just very inhumane for someone to just leave someone on the side of the road, no matter what was going on, whether they was drunk, whether they was on drugs, whether they didn't have any insurance, you just left her. So I'm very frustrated with that.
This could happen to someone else. That person is still out there on the road.
Yes.
Not knowing how many times this have happened, and it needs to stop before they seriously injure or kill someone.
And the family says Chardonnay had surgery this afternoon to correct that nerve damage, and we're told she's doing just fine. Anyone with information on this crash, contact police.
Thank you, Latasha. There's a new NBC News report that says Georgia was among 21 states targeted by Russian hackers in the most recent presidential election, 2016. But at the state capitol today, officials are strongly denying that report. Now, regardless, it's raising some new questions about the upcoming midterms. They are just months away, and whether enough is being done to protect your vote. 11Alive's Doug Richards reports now from the state capitol.
Before you can vote in Georgia, your name has to turn up on a list of valid voters kept by the state. The list is computerized, and state officials say secure. Yet state officials say it's commonplace for hackers to try to penetrate the state's electronic data and not just voter data. Wednesday, NBC News reported that Russian hackers targeted Georgia's voter data in 2016, one of 21 states so targeted.
We were able to determine that the scanning and probing of voter registration databases was coming from the Russian government.
Jay Johnson was Homeland Security Secretary when it happened. Georgia Secretary of State Brian Kemp says Georgia was not targeted. I personally spoke to an official in September from the Department of Homeland Security. They confirmed Georgia was not targeted or breached by the Russians during the 2016 general election. Georgia has had its security hiccups, however. The Secretary of State's office accidentally sent out confidential voter data to news organizations and political groups in 2015. And last year, the FBI investigated an alleged hack at the Center for Elections Systems in Kennesaw, which certifies Georgia's voting equipment. Secretary Kemp says in a statement, "We contract with a premier private sector security monitoring vendor. All network traffic is monitored to block and report any real-time threats to our environment." Doug Richards, 11Alive News.
I'm meteorologist Chris Holcomb from the 11Alive Storm Trackers. Great day out there today. Dry conditions, but another system is developing here. You can see some of this rain building from the Gulf. Eventually, that's going to make it our way. We'll let you know if this is going to wash out your weekend.
Plus, one of the most tense areas on Earth. It sits near the site of the Winter Olympic Games. Cheryl Preheim takes us to the DMZ, where there is still a 65-year-long military standoff.